good afternoon, or whenever you're watching this. By the way, Happy New Year if you're watching this on New Year's. It is your boy, the dear UG, here for his Wide Water Sports Talk. Today, not a lot of sports to talk about, just some NBA and NFL news. But first, let's just stick to the Hockey Watch 2012. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. Still no hockey. Moving on, we're going to basketball. And, well, it's been very weird. Lakers and Dallas Mavericks still showing why they are probably not going to make the playoffs if this keeps up. Because I know it's early, but my God, they suck. Both of them. But let's start with the Eastern Conference with the Brooklyn Nets. They fired their head coach not too long ago. You know, so it's kind of weird. I don't know what's going to come of it. I mean, maybe they'll get a good coach, maybe they won't. It all depends on who does what. Period. But for now, PJ will be coaching. Which I think is freaking hilarious. Anyway, speaking of the Brooklyn Nets, they are currently 7th right now in the Eastern Conference. They need to be careful because right now they're not looking like the powerhouse they started to at the start of the year. But New York is still a powerhouse right now, which is surprising everybody. Still the worst team in the NBA, and will probably get the most lottery balls right now. It was Washington, who's only got 4 wins. Dear Lord, do they suck. Now, of course, other than that in the NBA, really nothing's changed. Clippers showing why they're the best LA team right now. Now let's jump to football, and oh dear God in heaven, do we got a lot of stuff to deal with on that. A lot of stuff. But we'll start with the news that made today. A lot of coaches got fired. Oh boy, did a lot of coaches get fired today. And we're not even done with the playoffs yet. There could be more. But Andy Reid got fired, which I think we all knew was coming. Hopefully he gets another coaching job and a second chance, because I do respect Andy Reid. The Titans will not be firing their head coach, surprise, surprise. Neither will the Jags, but the Jags did let go of their GM. Chiefs fired their coach, but they kept the general manager. Kind of surprised there. Really the surprise, Jets fired their GM, but oh dear God, they kept their head coach. What the hell were they thinking on that? Stupid move. San Diego Chargers let both GM and Turner gone. Chargers will be looking for a new head coach. Speaking of new head coaches and GM, the Cardinals will be doing the same. And probably the most surprising firing today, Lovie Smith of the Chicago Bears was fired, which makes no sense to me. He had 10 wins this year. 10 wins. A winning season. And if the only reason the Bears are going to give is the fact he missed the playoffs, that's a terrible reason. He got you a winning season. You should have been happy with that, because a lot of teams would have loved to have been missed the playoffs but had 10 wins. I can tell you that right now. But it is what it is on that. And maybe Hester will walk. Who knows on that? It's going to be very interesting to see if that does come true. So it should be interesting to see what happens. Now, let's get to the awards for me this year. We've had some good moments this year in the NFL and some bad moments. More bad than good. But with that being said, it's time for my awards. The Awesome Awards and the Plunger Awards. Let's start with the good awards. My Rookie of the Year, unlike everyone else's, is not RG3. Andrew Luck is my Rookie of the Year because of what he did with the Colts. He turned them around. Colts are a playoff team. Last year they only had 2 wins. And remember, they did it without Coach Chuck because he had to take a leave of absence due to health reasons. So they had to use an interim head coach that whole time. Which is pretty damn impressive to me that they went from everyone not even having them in the playoffs to, wow, they're in the playoffs. So give him that. Andrew Luck, yes, he's thrown a lot of picks. but I think that's going to be let inside because unlike the cases of RG3 and Wilson, Luck doesn't have a good run game to fall back on. But that is what it is on that. Now, my comeback team of this year is honestly the Colts, because last year they only had 2 wins. This year they got 11. No doubt they have improved immensely. So again, Colts right now look to probably be on a lot of MVP awards in the NFL in real life, but these are mine. As far as for speaking of MVP, tough choices. There's only really 2 candidates, Adrian Peterson and Peyton Manning. But you know what? I got to go with Peyton. He did a damn good job with Denver. They really haven't lost a game since who knows when at this point. And to be honest, they're the first seed. There's a real good possibility that Broncos could be in the Super Bowl. Could it happen? Well, we'll have to see. But for now, Peyton Manning is the MVP. Now, offensive player of the year has to be Adrian Peterson. He's had a great year as well, and that gives me to the comeback player of the year. There were two of them who were getting this awesome award for me. Peyton Manning and Adrian Peterson. No one had them doing this good. I don't think anyone did. If you did, you're lying. Okay, that'd be a bold-faced lie. Now, Coach of the Year. Well, I don't know if he'll get it, but he should. Offensive coordinator Bruce Akins. I'm probably mispronouncing his last name, and I do apologize. But he was the interim head coach while Chuck was gone. And he got the Colts to the playoffs. So that alone, you know, he did better than the interim head coaches for the New Orleans Saints. Which, granted, yeah, that was a debacle anyway. But give credit to Bruce. He did lead the Colts to the playoffs with help from Luck. So Colts there. So if everything goes the way I'm hoping, at least what I would like to happen in real life, but probably won't, Luck would be rookie, Colts would be most improved team, and the interim head coach would be Coach of the Year. Now that we've got the good awards out of the way, let's get to the terrible awards, shall we? Worst team this year is a tie between the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Chiefs. It's got to go to the Chiefs, though, because they are getting the #1 pick. You know, Kansas City, yeah, you had some heartbreak, but yeah, you're in rebuild mode. I don't think you guys are going to get any better next year. Now, as for most disappoint, now, there's also another award I would like to give. Just disappointment. This is pretty much an award going to a team who should have made the playoffs, but did not. And that is the New York Giants. I think everyone had them punched in, and for whatever reason, either Super Bowl hangover, or maybe they just fell asleep, or maybe they had their head and ego shoved too far up their ass to know they were going to screw it up. And they did. Without a doubt. Giants, most disappointing team from a playoff. Whatever you want to say. They were a disappointment. Speaking of disappointments, the New York Jets also get a disappointment award because of how they mishandled the Tebow situation. They pretty much used Tebow, not for his skill, but pretty much his name, like a pimp uses a hoe, for money. And that's a fact. Now, time to get to the few last words I got left. As far as the best match of the year, best game, got to go back to week 1. Cowboys and Giants, that was a good game. Sunday night's game, Skins and Dallas, that was a good game. The Packers and Vikings from week 17, that was a great game as well. So you have many choices. But to me, there were only 2 terrible games where the refs botched badly. 1, Thanksgiving Day, Houston Texans and Detroit Lions, the phantom touchdown. The refs botched that up bad. I think the Lions get cheated on that one, and I still do to this day. As far as for the other worst, not only the worst call of the year, probably the screw job of the year, screw job of the century, whatever you want to call it, it was just the worst flag call ever this year. Packers and Seahawks. My God in heaven. What were the replacement refs thinking? Were they drunk or high off their ass? That's the best way to put it. without going into rage mode. But that game was terrible. The refs botched that one, and to some extent, that's why the Seahawks are in the playoffs, which I think is hilarious to a degree. Now, with that being said, as many of you who do follow me on Facebook, I said I would have a little bit of a guarantee I'm going to make. 2 offensive coordinators, I believe, will be leaving their team this year and becoming a head coach somewhere else. One, well, we already talked about him. The one who took over for the Colts when Chuck left. I think he will be getting a lot of offers, and he might take it. And if I was him, I might, because, I mean, I couldn't blame him. As far as for the second one, believe it or not, I'm heading to Washington for this one. Why? Well, it's the offensive coordinator, Shanahan Jr. There is no doubt in my mind that one of the many reasons the Skins were a good team this year is the fact of him. No doubt on that. I think everyone would agree. He was able to mold RG3 and all these other rookies to where they are now. So, I think those two may be becoming a head coach this year. That is my opinion. I want to know what you think on that. Do you think those two, the one who is the interim head coach for the Colts, and like I just said, for the Washington Redskins, Shanahan Jr., will they be finding a new position? Become a new head coach? Yes. That's Kyle Shanahan, by the way. Starting to look at the name of it, that's why I had that momentary pause, if you will. Now, of course, just as a little taste, Jason Garrett talked about Norv Turner. Now, could we see Norv Turner become an offensive coordinator for the Cowboys? Who knows? Maybe if Jason Garrett's talking about him, maybe Norv Turner comes back to Dallas. We shall see for that. But until I see you next week when I come back from MagFest, this is the DOUG saying good night and have a good start to your new year. Later, folks.